Welcome, my friends, to DSDM and XP Basics. The reason I created this video is because the noise levels from the CAPM students is getting higher about this kind of stuff on their CAPM exam. I don't know if any PMPs have experienced the same, but it's more predominant these days, the noise levels from the CAPM world. So let's talk about DSDM and XP. Basically, these are Agile frameworks, and they're talked about in the Agile guide, the Agile practice guide on pages 110 for DSDM and 102 for XP. So I'm going to take you through it very quickly, but here's the business case for it. If you take a look at the distribution of Agile methods from the last survey that's out there from the Agile report, you can see that Scrum is extremely dominant. It's used in 87% of those organizations that say they use Agile, followed by Kanban, followed by Scrumban. And we're just talking about these team level frameworks. We're not talking about any of the scaling ones, just the team level ones. And it makes sense because if you look at the scaling ones, they contain these team level ones anyway. So Scrum is extremely dominant, followed by Kanban, followed by the mixture of Scrumban, iterative, Scrum, XP, hybrid mix, lean startup, XP, which is why we are going to talk about XP. And DSDM doesn't show on the map, but a lot of the practices of DSDM, as you'll see, are built into some of the others. So let's have a quick intro to DSDM. It was created in 1994, and it emphasizes control, quality, transparency, and communication in software development. It can be used to scale Agile for larger programs with multiple teams, and it's designed for managing the full life cycle of a program. It has four phased approaches. It covers feasibility, foundations, evolutionary development, and deployment. Teams in DSDM are organized by business, technical, and management areas of interest. Roles in DSDM are categorized into program development and supporting roles, and each role has defined responsibilities, which I'll be showing you. For instance, the technical coordinator provides technical leadership at the program level. DSDM promotes practices like facilitated workshops, prioritizing work and modeling. Facilitated workshops help teams reach consensus on requirements. And DSDM uses the MOSCA, must have, should have, could have, would like technique for prioritization. Very similar when we talk about the Kano, but Kano has more humanistic, human-centered words. DSDM is pretty straightforward, must have, should have, could have, would like, or won't have, depending on the configuration you choose. Prioritization allows focusing on the highest priority work, and DSDM promotes modeling as a way to enhance communication within the team. The PMI says that it is an agile project delivery framework designed to add more rigor to existing iterative methods. So you need to think about it like this. When you go to PMI's page 110, you see something similar, which brings out what exactly Agile looks like when you compare it to predictive. For predictive or traditional, as you see on the screen, we have the scope pretty much fixed. We could call them features pretty much fixed, but the schedule and the budget are estimated. You could say they're flexible. This is the traditional world. DSDM is best known for its emphasis on constraint-driven delivery, and that's where this figure comes in. It's one of the best things that DSDM presents to the layman, because when you try to think about Agile, you flip it on its head and voila, there it is. There's what makes Agile what it is. That's what makes Agile approaches what they are, because scope is flexible, estimated, if you will. The question becomes, how much scope, or what scope are we going to put in the fixed box? You see, in the world of traditional, it's how long do we need for this fixed scope? But that's not the question in Agile. We flip it on its head, and we also call Agile adaptive, as you know. We call Agile adaptive or change-driven. We call traditional plan-driven. So when you look at this image on page 110, same thing that you're looking at on the screen, you'll understand what makes Agile Agile. It's one of the great things that DSDM presents to us. So you got to understand it's all about that constraint of delivering projects on time and on budget. But again, it's what are we going to put in the box? And that becomes the question. Key principle is frequent deliveries of workable products. So let's talk about the DSDM principles really quick. We have focus on business need, deliver on time, collaborate, never compromise quality, build incrementally. from firm foundations, develop iteratively, communicate continuously and clearly, and demonstrate control. So let's talk about these in a little bit more detail. Let's go under the hood. So when we talk about focus on business need, the team understands the business needs and priorities. There's continuous business commitment throughout development. So I'm going to be ticking these off one by one as we cover them. Let's go to deliver on time. Teams time box their work in iterations, allowing them to always deliver on time while flexing the scope of features. And that's why in that triangle, you see that scope is flexible. With iterations, the team should be able to have a predictable delivery. Collaborate. The entire team, including stakeholders and business representatives, collaborate for better understanding of shared ownership of a program. This is supported by empowering team members to make decisions in areas they represent. Never compromise quality. It's a no-brainer. The level of quality is agreed on before development starts with acceptance criteria. Testing is integrated throughout development, done early and continuously. Let's talk about build incrementally from firm foundation. So we need to understand the business problem and plan the proposed solution. Teams should design an overarching solution first in order to lay a firm foundation and build a solution from this foundation with increments providing for feedback and routine reassessment of the program. Develop iteratively. Iterative development allows for timely feedback through frequent demonstrations and reviews. That is a no-brainer. We do this in a lot of the frameworks in Agile, so that should make sense. Communicate continuously and clearly. You already know this one from the Agile principles, right? DSDM encourages informal face-to-face communication and daily stand-ups. Additional modeling, prototyping, and workshops can increase communication throughout the team. And lastly, we have demonstrate control. What does this mean? Well, in order to demonstrate control, the program manager should measure and report plans and progress. The program manager should be assessing the program according to the business need. Now, some of this terminology here is a little bit different from what you're used to. You will find these talked about, these principles at a high level in the Agile Practice Guide on page 110, but I went in a little bit deeper so as to paint the full picture for you because I really want you to get this and, ace it on the test when you see it. So let's talk a little bit about the DSDM process, some variables that come to play here. Talk about pre-project, then we have a feasibility study, then a business study, a functional model iteration, design and build iteration, and then implementation. Talking about the roles, they're not really spelled out in the Agile Practice Guide, but we have the business sponsor, business visionary, technical coordinator, project manager, team leader, business ambassador, business analyst, solution developer, and solution tester. And sometimes people might refer to the project manager as a program manager, as you saw in my previous definitions. So let's take a look at what these roles do. So the business sponsor provides funding, obviously, right? The money bags person. The business visionary represents end users. The technical coordinator ensures technical integrity. Solution developer develops and tests solutions. Business ambassador represents end users. Business analyst documents requirements. The tester ensures quality standards, and the team leader guides team activities. What are the benefits of DSDM? Rapid delivery of solutions, strong collaboration between stakeholders, flexibility in changing requirements, and clear governance and control. You can see it is more regimented than some of the other approaches, and that's okay. It's all about what fits your project. So the major techniques, bringing them to the surface, time boxing, manage time and scope with fixed duration periods. That's what we call sprints in the world of Scrum. And then prioritization and Moscow, categorize requirements based on importance. Must have, should have, could have, would like. And that's pretty much it for DSDM. I would recommend that you take a look at the Agile Practice Guide, and a huge shout out to my buddy Scrum Bob for giving me the book where I get all these definitions that takes it to the next level, published by the GAO, the US government. Let's move on to the intro to XP. So what exactly is extreme programming? Well, let's read on page 102 in the Agile Practice Guide. It reads, extreme programming is a software development method based on frequent cycles. So there you have it. It's a software development method. You may not be able to use this in other walks of life, but primarily it's a software development method, and the name is based on the philosophy of distilling a best practice to its purest, simplest form and applying that practice continuously. So if coding is good, code. If testing is good, test, and so on and so forth. XP is most known for popularizing a holistic set of practices intended to improve the results of software projects. The method was first formalized as a set of 12 primary practices, but then gradually evolved to adopt several other corollary practices. And the PMI lists this on page 102. And on page 102, I'm going to give you a high-level overview with just some approximations, or I should say abbreviations of what is said, not exactly what is said, but close to what is said. So if you take a look at page 102, there are 3 columns. The first is the XP practice area. The second is the primary practice. And the third column is the secondary practice. And honestly, all you need to do is listen, and I'm going to go through them one by one. We have 4 rows on that table, and I'm going to take them one by one. The first row talks about the organizational, and here we have sit together, the principle of the whole team, and informative workspaces. The secondary, we have real customer involvement, team continuity, and sustainable pace. On the next line, we have the technical. And the technical practice is pair programming, programming in pairs, test-first programming. We talk about test-driven development. You should know what that is. And then we have incremental design. In the secondary column, we have shared code and collective code ownership. Hopefully you know what that is. It's important. Go look it up. We have documentation from codes and tests. And then we have the concept of refactoring. These sub-principles, the primary and the secondary, the sub ones, you should know what those are, at least have an idea before you go into your exam, especially those of you who have told me, I got this kind of XP stuff on my exam and I was clueless. Go read it up. All right, user stories, should know what that is. Weekly cycle, doing things in a weekly cycle, a quarterly cycle, and then the concept of Slack. We also have root cause analysis on the secondary side, shrinking teams, pay-per-use, negotiated scope contract, and daily stand-ups. Again, if you're lost for any of these, I would recommend go do a quick search and get to understand. And last but not least, we have integration. We have the concept of the 10-minute build, continuous integration, very important to know, and the concept of test first. Lastly, on the secondary end, we have single code base, incremental deployment, and daily deployment. So just have a general idea of this. Know that these primary and secondary practices are peculiar to XP in this set. They're used in other frameworks, but for XP, quite peculiar in terms of the whole set that you see on page 102. So we've told you that it's an agile software development methodology. The focus is on enhancing software quality and responsiveness, and the key principle is continuous feedback and iterative development. 3 main things: focused on improving quality, developed in the late 90s by Kent Beck and colleagues, and in response to challenges of traditional software development methods. Those are the practices. Some of them I have read out to you, but if you're looking at the big bullet practices, pair programming, TDD, continuous integration, refactoring, simple design, system metaphor, collective code ownership, sustainable pace, on-site customer. What do these mean? Pair programming, develop work in pairs. TDD, write test before code. We talk about red, green, clean. You write the test and it fails, and then you write the code so that it passes the test, and then you clean it up. Continuous integration, integrate code changes frequently. Refactoring, improve code without changing behavior. Small releases, deliver software in small increments. collective code ownership, everyone is responsible for code, and continuous feedback, regular feedback for improvement. Talking about the roles and responsibilities, we have the customer, programmer, tester, coach, and the tracker. The customer defines the requirements and prioritizes the features. The programmer develops software based on requirements. The tester ensures software quality. The coach guides on XP practices, and the tracker monitors project progress. The values of XP: communication, simplicity, feedback, courage, and respect. They sound similar to others that you know from the world of Scrum, that's for sure. So simplicity, simple solutions for requirements; communication, open and constant among team members; feedback, act on feedback from users and team; and courage, take risks to improve software; and lastly, respect, value all team members' contributions. Benefits one more time. We have flexibility in changing requirements. We have reduced risk and cost, enhanced collaboration, and improved software quality. So, my friends, in conclusion, we have taken a look at various pieces of the puzzle of DSDM and XP. They are both agile frameworks, methodologies, if you will. DSDM focuses on project delivery, while XP focuses on software development. Both emphasize collaboration, flexibility, and quality. The summary, my friends, is also that you could get this on your exam. If you do, just remember the major practices and the major principles, and you're going to be good. Remember the business case for this. Various organizations distill all of these agile methods and frameworks in different quantities. So you have a blend of all sorts of agile frameworks and methodologies. Thank you very much. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share with your friends, and check out my other videos. If you are looking for explanations about BDD, TDD, ATDD, DevOps, you'll also find that on the channel. I'll endeavor to put a link somewhere, or just search the channel and you'll find them. Thank you very much. All the best.